9 o'clock at WWRR Scranton Wilkes-Barre. This is a Decades Artist Spotlight.
Hi, it's Rick Richards from the Georgia Satellites.
My honey, my baby, don't put my love upon no shelf. She said, don't hand me no lines and keep your hands to yourself.
Hey everybody, this is Jerry Graham from Honeymoon Suite.
I got a new girl now. I got a new girl now.
Hi, this is Neil Dowdy of REO Speedwagon.
And I'm gonna keep on loving you, 'cause it's the only thing I wanna do.
This is Decades, Joey Kramer.
And you're listening to Decades with Joey Kramer.
And you're listening to Decades with Joey Kramer.
This is the Decades Artist Spotlight. Now, here's Joe E. Kramer with this week's artist.
We are in a Decades Artist Spotlight this week. We are here with one of the founding members of Foghat, Mr. Roger Earl. He is the man behind the kit, the drummer, and a great guy. And they have a brand new album called Under the Influence, which is out in stores right now. So we're going to talk to Roger Earl in just a few minutes. They had a bunch of top 40 hits in the 70s, including this one. Third Time Lucky. First Time I Was a Fool. Foghat, a Decades Artist Spotlight.
It's all behind me, there's good luck up ahead. Can't break what's left of my heart. Once bitten, twice shy. This time it feels so good, I'd hate to see it fall apart. First love I had was 17 and I was younger. Love to us was some kind of game. In all my letters said I never would forget her now. I can't recall her name. The first time I was a fool, I never knew that love could be so cruel. It happened to me again. Third time lucky.
This is the Decades Artist Spotlight with Joe E. Kramer. This week's artist.
It's another Decades Artist Spotlight, and tonight we are here with another rock legend. His career has spanned over 50 years, including 45 of them with the band he helped form, Foghat, musician, drummer, percussionist, vocalist, and songwriter Mr. Roger Earl is with us tonight in the Spotlight. How you doing, Roger?
Doing fine, Joe. I don't know about this vocalist thing. It's true, I do some background vocals. My vocal hero was Johnny Cash, so I sing the low harmonies. Oh, I'd like to introduce you to my beautiful wife, June Carter Cash. Anyway, that's enough of that. No, I'm a big Johnny Cash fan.
Absolutely, Johnny Cash is fan. I wasn't introduced to Johnny Cash till a little bit later, but I love his music. I do. People laugh at me because I listen to Johnny Cash because I'm all over the place. I'm listening to the stuff from the 80s, the hair metal, the stuff from the 70s, and then I have my Johnny Cash records. So I'm like, I listen to a little bit of everything.
Well, same here. When I was about 12 years old, my older brother, Colin, he was 4 years older than me, was buying early Johnny Cash stuff from the Sun Records and early Elvis Presley, and of course Jerry Lee Lewis.
Right.
I was probably the only kid who'd ride my bike to school, like singing Johnny Cash songs. Created to. That's where the low harmonies come from. But yeah, big Johnny Cash. I never got to see him live, but I have his records and all his TV shows and stuff. But Johnny Cash was just incredible. Great songwriter and storyteller. Yeah, he was something else.
So 50 years you've been doing this, 50 years, a little bit more than 50 years, 45 years with Foghat. You're the only guy that's been there the whole time. How do you explain this? I mean, what's the secret to doing this business for that long?
Well, the good Lord hasn't seen fit to take me just yet. There's that side of the coin. The other one is be careful what you wish for. This is what I wanted to do ever since I can remember, like starting to listen to music, and I started learning to play drums when I was like 12 or 13. There was always music in my house. My father played piano. My older brother Colin plays piano. He played in a band called Mungo Jerry. They had a number of big hits in Europe and one over here in the summertime.
Everybody knows that one.
All right. And the lead singer actually in Mungo Jerry was the lead singer in the first band I was in. So there's a lot of connection there. And I'm a big fan of music, rock and roll music, blues, R&B, jazz, American music. America gave music to the world. You can go anywhere in the world and there's American music playing, whether it's China, Japan, Belgium, France, Germany, of course England. I mean, we all grew up listening to rock and roll music and stuff we get from like the US bases over in Germany, Radio Luxembourg and a few others. And that's what I grew up listening to. In fact, when I was about 15, I belonged to what they call a record club. It was in Chicago, and they would send these lists of all the records they had, like once a month or something. And I would go through the list and I go, Howlin' Wolf, he's got to be great with a name like that. So
we had something similar. I had something similar to that. I was in what was called a record pool in the 80s, and I would get all the. Every week I would get a bunch of albums. I mean, I hate that. I still listen to vinyl, but I get a bunch of vinyl. And you'd have 10, I'd get like 10 a week. 6 of them would be horrible, but you'd always get 3 or 4 in there that would be good music. It might not be popular for like 6 months, but you'd get it really early and you'd hook onto it really fast.
Yeah, actually, I love the music scene back in like the 60s and 70s. When I was in Savoy Brown in like the late 60s. The nighttime DJs would come on. They go, "Yeah, we have a record here from Savoy Brown. We're going to play it for you." And they played the whole album, both sides. And that was like FM radio. That just really impressed me. The fact that there were people brave enough to do that. It was a way of getting out there. It's changed now, but. One thing that hasn't changed is America still gives music to the world. I mean, not that I'm a huge fan of rap, but it's music. It's like, it'd be boring if it was the same music all the time. I mean, you've got rap groups in Israel and probably not so much in Afghanistan, but I'm sure there's a couple. Russia has rap bands, and like it's Chinese rappers. Woo!
That I had. Well, I guess I have heard that because we've had one or two over here. So yeah, I've heard that before.
Yeah, it's even today, America is still feeding the world with music.
Right.
So yeah, it's a great country. This is where music comes from.
So Foghat's got a brand new album now called Under the Influence, which was released about 12 days ago. Before I want to get in depth into that album in just a few minutes, but we know you played with Savoy Brown, obviously. 50 years is a long time. Tell us a little bit about the beginning of Foghat, because again, 45 years this band has been together. You took a little hiatus for 2 years in the 80s, but other than that, you've been trucking along for the entire time. So talk a little bit about Foghat.
I joined Savoy Brown at the tail end of '67. Kim Simmons gave me my first real professional job. That was a lot of fun. I loved playing in that band. The real cool thing about, I think, Savoy Brown was our songwriters, which was mainly Chris Jordan or Lonesome Dave or Kim Simmons, were writing music that wasn't like direct copies of American blues artists. No, we did our fair share of that. It was like, that was the music that influenced us, and I thought there were some really exciting songs that were written back then, in Savoy Brown. And then at the end of 1970, myself and Dave left the band. It was amicable with Kim. I remained good friends with Kim over the years, and we formed Foghat. We wanted to probably do a bit more of a rock and roll attitude as opposed to what initially influenced us, American blues. So it was, and that was a lot of fun doing that. It was out of work, I guess, for like a year and a half or so, nearly 2 years. That was a bit of a struggle, but I thought about getting a real job. I said, oh, what a horrible thought. And then Foghat, we formed Foghat. Our first album became a hit over here in the States. I Just Want to Make Love to You was a top 20 or 30 single, and we haven't looked back since.
And you talked about the FM DJ at night, but AOR, as it was called back then, the album-oriented rock, was good to Foghat because that was the place you turned to hear the deep tracks off of these albums, because you didn't hear it on Top 40 radio until Slow Ride hit. I mean, AOR radio was, it fed bands like Foghat.
Yeah, it was interesting. I remember when we finished mixing the album, and we actually finished mixing Slow Ride and what was eventually the B-side of the single, which was Save Your Lovin' For Me off the Fall for the City album. And Nick Jameson and I, Nick was the bass player and producer of that album, but we recorded up in Sharon, Vermont, on top of a mountain, and we drove back down to Bearsville Records and went into the office there and talked to the person who was in charge of Bearsville and played in the record, the tape. And he said, it's 8 minutes long, you can't have a single like that. And we said, yes, we can. Prior to that, Foghat as a band, had never written singles per se or insisted that it was a single. We just left it up to the record.
Right.
But this one was different. It was a song that we all loved playing, because it had the basic riff came from sort of like a John Lee Hooker guitar riff. We just sort of slowed it down a bit and made it like a 4/4 instead of like a shuffle feel. And then, all the other stuff that was in there. And what's it about, Joe? Do you know what Slow Ride is all about, the song?
I know. Slow Ride to me sounds like one big jam session.
It was. But what are the lyrics about? Some people tend to think it's about driving a car.
Well,
it's not. It's driving something else. Can we talk about this on the radio?
You can talk about anything. You can talk about anything you want on the radio. Have at it. Have at it.
Slow down. Go down. I've got to get your lovin' one more time. That's enough. I've got.
See, I never knew that until now.
You lived a sheltered life.
I guess I do. I have a whole new love for Slow Ride now, and that gives me something to talk about.
And of course, we've done a new version of it on our new album, Under the Influence. it was like a 40-year anniversary, and it was kind of a tribute to Lonesome Dave and Rob Price, who have passed away. And
Right.
even after all these years, I still love playing the song. I mean, it's a lot of fun. It is a jam, as you said. That's where it came from, in fact.
And
We
it's
were jamming in myself and Rob Price had a house out on Long Island, and we soundproofed the basement, and the four of us were down there with Nick Jameson, our new bass player producer, and it came from a jam. The whole song was written, and then Dave said, I think I've got some lyrics for that, and that was it. The song was done.
See, if everybody knew what it was about back in the 70s, it might not have been played on the radio as much. You might have been you might have been banned off the place.
Well, they didn't want to play the 8-minute version. There was only a few stations to play it. Most of them, when it started, because our guy who ran the record company said, well, we're going to have to edit this. And I said, no, we're not. We're not going to edit anything. Leave our music alone. Well, eventually we had to succumb to it. And I believe Nick edited it down to about 4 minutes. Or what they did, they faded it on the when it goes out. But the 8-minute version is the one you want to listen to.
Well, that's the one. That's the one I play. As I always play. I don't like cutting songs down. If the band wanted it to be 8 minutes long, there was a reason for it.
That's right. We're having fun. That's what rock and roll is all about.
That's the reason for it. And that song's been good to you. I mean, it's been in so many movies. It's been on Guitar Hero. It's been in shows like Dexter. And I mean, and you said you still enjoy playing it. And that's the best part, because a lot of bands, their signature song, they sort of kind of say, "Oh, I don't want to play that anymore. I'm sick of that song."
Oh no, not at all. I love playing it. It's fun. And also one of the cool. Well, Foghat's always been somewhat of a jam band anyway. You know, I Just Want to Make Love to You. We've got like half a dozen different versions of that. Sometimes we're limited with how long we can play, but if we're not, we can do a long version of it. And also, if we have any guests coming up and playing guitar with us, we do that. Same with any number of our songs. Why stick to like 3 or 4 minutes? Having said that, it's not a bad idea to have 4-minute songs, because if it's like, very few songs actually keep your attention for like 8 or 10 minutes, but unless of course you're in the band and being rather self-indulgent, which we've been accused of from time to time, but we've always had great players in the band, so I think the music stands for itself.
This week's Decades Artist Spotlight continues. Now, here's Joe E. Kramer with this week's artist.
We're on a Decades Artist Spotlight. Roger Earl, the drummer and basically lifelong member of the rock group Foghat. You just heard Slow Ride, which I had no idea what it was about. I didn't know these things. I live in a very sheltered life, so I learn something new every day. But that song has been literally in hundreds of movies since its release in 1975. A bunch of different versions, including a 10-minute version, a live version that's 9 minutes and 44 seconds, the album version, which is 8 minutes and 21 seconds, and there is a new version on their album, Under the Influence, which is in stores right now. We're going to talk about that album with Roger coming up, plus we're going to play some music off the brand new album. All straight ahead, Decades Artist Spotlight with Roger Earl from Foghat continues next right here. It's Decades on Total Reach Radio.
This is the Decades Artist Spotlight.
Northeast PA's 105 The River.
Where she was walking, got me tongue-tied talking, and here's all I can say. Hot mama, who's gonna fan your flame? Hey, hot mama, let me be your fireman. Well, her eyes got big, I started heating up. I couldn't keep my cool. She put a smile on her lips and then she blew me a kiss. Woo! I shouted out like a fool. Hot mama, who's gonna fan your flame? Hey, hot mama, let me be your fireman.
Is the Decades Artist Spotlight with Joe E. Kramer. This week's artist.
We're here with Roger Earl, chatting with him from the rock group Foghat. That was something off their brand new album, Under the Influence, called Hot Mama. One of my favorite let's talk about that brand new album, Roger Earl in the Decades Artist Spotlight. Now let's get to this new album because I want to talk about this. Under the Influence, it's the new one from Foghat. And you've played with guys like you've played with the greats, with John Lee Hooker and Muddy Waters, and you've played with all these. Now I know this album's gone back 3 years in the making, and I read a story that you were at the Memphis Blues Festival or awards, and you gave out an award to Buddy Guy, who is another blues legend, and you got to sit down with the producer by the name of Tom Hambridge. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah. I met Tom about 4 years ago. As you just noted, I was a presenter at the Memphis Blues Awards, and Buddy Guy won 3 awards that night.
Right.
Probably won everything that he was. Buddy is like an incredible musician and singer and writer, and in fact, I carry a picture of me shaking his hand in my bag. So, and occasionally I'll turn up and go, "Oh, I hung out with greatness." And later on that evening, I met Tom Hambridge, who was his producer, and I met him that night. He got an award for Best Production. And we were talking. He said that he was a huge fan of Foghat and that he would love to produce an album with us. So I kind of put that in the back of my mind. And after halfway through this record, after about a year and a half, we had about half a dozen songs written. And Tom, I invited Tom down to our studio down in Florida. He stayed with us for 3 days, and we started working on arrangements and wrote some more songs. Then about 9 months to a year later, he came back down again for another 3 or 4 days. He'd also written a couple of songs specifically for us, and a couple of them made it onto the record. And also, we all co-wrote the title track, Under the Influence. I was sitting out on the back porch after we'd been writing and recording all day, and we were drinking some fine Kentucky bourbon. And Maker's Mark, I think it was. There's a plug. And and I was telling him stories about all the people that influenced me, like Jerry Lee Lewis, Chuck Berry, and blues artists like Muddy and John Lee Hooker. And the next morning, he comes out of his room with all the lyrics. So he wrote all the lyrics, but it was inspired by myself and Brian sort of mumbling about our musical heroes. And then the whole band, including Kim Simmons, is playing lead guitar on that, by the way. And, we put the song together when we went up. We finished the album up in Nashville at Dark Horse Studios. And it really was a lot of fun making this record. Most of them are all done, live in the studio, bass guitar, drums, and Charlie will be, singing the vocals so that we knew where the song was and where it was going. And I really enjoyed making this record. It was a lot of fun, and I think all the songs are different enough that they stand on their own. And again, it was all about our musical influences. There was one time when it was just Charlie and I were in the studio, and we were just jamming, and Charlie started playing, heard it through the grapevine, and I said, "Charlie, we've got to do that song." So we recorded just the drums and Charlie singing and playing guitar, and then we added everything else. So it was, we were jamming.
Yeah, the guitar work on this album, Brian, who is the lead guitar. I mean, the guitar work is phenomenal. And looking at this album, and I've got the album a couple weeks back, and like you said, Under the Influence. I mean, straightforward guitar-driven rock to start off the album. Knock It Off, which is the second track on the album. Brian's guitar work, I mean, on all the albums is great. Harley's voice, he's got a fantastic. He hits it head on. It's fantastic.
Yeah, he doesn't hold back. In fact, we're playing 3 of the songs live in our set now, and they're going down really well. But because Charlie's singing with such force and conviction, we just did like a three-day run. We did 3 shows. By the 3rd day, he said, "My throat's starting to go." I said, "Well, that's not my fault. You started singing these songs this way." So, but Charlie's a trooper. He sort of put some warm liquid down his throat, and he was fine.
Hey, one of my favorites on the album is Ghost. What was that song about? Because that's one of my favorites on the album. I think it's track number 3 on the album.
Actually, the musical part of it started off. We do another song called Terraplane Blues in our set. And once again, we were jamming on the music, and some of it sort of changed. And we took some of the music to start off with Ghost. Now, we didn't have any lyrics for it. We just sort of were, mumbling and moaning the lines to it. But that was also where Tom Hambridge came in. He wrote the lyrics for that and came up with that, whereas we had the music. So it was... I really enjoyed that. When you have something like with Tom Hambridge's ability and knowledge, it's like having a fifth member in the band. And he's a great drummer as well, so I like that. He was the way he handled the band in the studio was terrific. He was kind of like a musical director. He would any of the new songs that when we were working out the arrangements, i.e. like Under the Influence, the song. We probably played the song about 5 or 6 times to get the arrangement right. And he was like the musical director in the room and pointed to everybody when the changes come, or when you sing, or when you don't, or when there's a change. And when it came down to the 6th time to play it, actually record it, we nailed it first time.
I want to talk about one more song. The album's phenomenal, by the way. It's Under the Influence. It's available now, and I would love to go in depth about every single song here if we had a couple hours to talk. But Upside of Lonely, Heard It Through the Grapevine, you touched on already, which is a phenomenal remake. Made Up My Mind. But my favorite song on the album, hands down, is Hot Mama.
Yeah, we're playing that one.
That is my favorite.
That's in fact, Tom wrote that specifically for us, and when I first heard it, I wasn't really sure, but he came down to the studio down in Florida, and then he sort of played us a demo he'd made, and we worked on it with him. And of course, when Charlie started singing it and got the lyrics and changed, some of the melody, I think it worked great. That again, another thing was a lot of fun playing it. So we played that one on stage. We played Under the Influence, and we also played Knock It Off. And they all seem to be going down rather well. I mean, I'm rather dubious from time to time about bands playing their new albums. You want to go and see them and you want to hear the hits, but this seems to be working.
And how does that feel? You're doing a lot of songs under 4 minutes. That's got to be tough.
Not really. No, not really. I get a break, I mean, we're all getting on in years. I'm going to roll till I'm old and rock till I drop. Actually, when we were recording and working on this album, I became good friends with a blues guitarist and singer called Scott Hull, and he would come down to our studio and hang out for weeks at a time with us and write with us. And we'd written so many songs together. Me, Scott, Charlie, and Brian. We had about enough for like 2 or 3 albums. We couldn't really do a bunch of songs with Scott singing because he's not actually a singer. So we started another band called Earl and the Agitators, and we sometimes open up for Foghat. So in fact, Scott Holt is singing on 3 of the songs on here. He's singing on Honeydew List, All Because of You, and Upside of Lonely.
Honeydew List just sounds like an old-fashioned blues song.
It is. Well, it is a blues song. In fact, Tom Hambridge wrote that. And
that's straight-ahead blues.
Yeah, and he was doing. There's a club there called the Bluebird, and the songwriters sit in the middle of the club in the round. There's 4 of them, and they talk about the songs that they've written. And Tom played this song as a slow blues called Upside of Lonely, and I said, well, I've got to do that song. But myself and Scott wanted to sort of change it a little bit and put more of like a Memphis kind of feel to it. So that's what we did. And it is a hilarious song. It's Upside of Lonely. I can smoke a cigar in my living room. The phone, your girlfriend's arms ringing the phone off the wall. I never had to hear from your mother-in-law. I eat pizza 3 times a day. I don't have to worry about watching my weight. Why did nobody told me about the upside of Lonely?
and you do a 7-minute and 43-second version of Slow Ride. I mean, that's and it's a great. It doesn't stray from the original, which is fantastic.
I think it's longer than that. I think it's like closer to 8 minutes, but I'm not going to argue with you.
No, I'm doing it off of memory.
How
here.
long is Slow Ride?
Slow Ride, what, there's like 3 different versions of Slow Ride? Slow Ride's, well, the original Slow Ride was over 8 minutes, right? Or 10 minutes, the live version.
10 minutes sometimes. Like I said, we're a jam band. We have fun up there.
Hey, it's all good. And the album was a Pledge Music thing, so the fans helped fund the record also.
Yeah, that was a way to sort of get basically pre-ordering the record. And I must admit, I was really impressed with our fans actually having that much faith in us, for thousands of them to pre-order the record. And it was, I was impressed. And apparently, according to our fans, we've got nothing but rave reviews about the record, so we didn't let them down. We did a bunch of stuff like I signed tons of drumsticks and drum heads, and we signed a bunch of records as well, so CDs. We have the vinyl coming out, I believe, middle of September, and that's a double. That will be a double album because you don't want to, push all the grooves together.
Right.
Sounds really good. Yeah, the fans have been fantastic. They stood by us all these years, even with like losing Lonesome Dave and Rob Price. They turn up in droves. I'm real fortunate because, here I am playing in a great rock and roll band and having the time of my life with it.
And there's no slowing down, that's for sure. We're on a Decades Artist Spotlight. We're here with Roger Earl. He's the drummer, the founder of Foghat. I know you guys are going to be out on the road.
Foghat.net. Find out anything about the band, where we're playing. We also we make our own wine now. Comes from mid coast of California.
I was looking at that website. I didn't know that Foghat had wine. I was checking out the website.
I go out and actually pick the grapes and help crush them down. And if I'm not picking grapes that we're going to use, I work with some of the other farmers. I didn't do it last year when there was harvest. I was working, but playing, I should say. But I really enjoy it. The wines are fantastic. California makes some of the best wines in the world there, and it's just another way of enjoying it. And working with the farmers is really cool. They're wonderful people, very generous. One of the things that I found really interesting and enjoyable was the fact that when things are going well with the grapes, they're growing and there's no blight or anything, they let everybody know what's working. And if there is a problem, they let all the other farmers know what the problems are. And I found that rather refreshing in business because usually people are sort of very guarded about what's actually going on in the business. So, here's to the farmers and the grape pickers.
Absolutely.
And they work really hard. They're folks that pick the grapes. I go out there and help out from time to time. And I usually stay about 20 or 30 feet ahead of them, dragging my big plastic box along and putting grapes in there. And within minutes, they're right next to me, and then I have to sort of run off in front of them. But I'm not a professional, but I want to get my hands, into the grapes.
And that's foghatsellers.com, correct? That's where you can go to look at. I know that's where I saw it. And it's cellars, like a wine cellar. It's Foghat Cellars, CELLARS.com, and all the wine is listed there. So it's a very cool thing.
Thank you. Yeah, it is, and I really enjoy doing it. It's a lot of fun, and of course, now I have a wine cellar.
We're in a Decades Artist Spotlight. Roger Earl from the rock band Foghat. Under the Influence is the name of the new CD, also available on vinyl. Roger, it's been fantastic having you with us here tonight.
Joe, thank you very much, and I guess we're going to see you one day when we're out on the road there, right?
Absolutely.
Hello, this is Roger Earl of Foghat, and you're listening to Decades with Joey Kramer.
Shouting from the mountain up on Mad Dog Hill, I hear voices calling me, I can't hear them still. When you gonna come back home? When you gonna come back home? When you coming back home? She like a ghost to me. She like a ghost to me. Every day I follow that trail, leads me down to the river. I look around for clues on the ground. I ghost to me. Miss her coming round at night, pounding on my door. She took all the love from me I got. She don't come round here no more. No more. She don't come round here no more. When everyone is sleeping, I go out at night. I hear the black crow calling, don't give up the fight. When the full moon's rising underneath the pines, she comes round and haunts my dreams, steals my homemade wine, steals my homemade wine. I see her in the shadows, I hear it on the breeze. I can feel her spirit, like a ghost to me. I see her in the shadows, I hear it on the breeze. I can feel her spirit still. She like a ghost to me. She like a ghost to me. She like a ghost. She like a ghost to me.
This week's Decades Artist Spotlight continues. Now, here's Joe E. Kramer with this week's artist.
And the Decades Artist Spotlight this week, Roger Earl, the drummer of Foghat. Hope you enjoyed our little chat with Roger. Next Decades Artist Spotlight. But in 2 weeks, we'll be doing our Decades of the Dead. We're going to have a special spotlight that night for Halloween, which I'm working on right now, and I'll tell you more about either later on tonight or next week. So we will have an interview regarding Halloween on the 29th, so you don't want to miss that. The following week, November 5th, if I'm not mistaken, Michael Sweet from Striper will join us. So a lot going on. Stay right here. We got more decades coming up. Right here on Total Reach Radio, 105 The River, 104.9 and 100.7 FM, 1340 AM around the world at 105theriver.net and decades with JoeEKramer.com. We'll be right back.